Hey guys, what's up? Let's dive right into this. In this video, I wanted to talk about something that I discovered during a therapy session with a therapist of mine a few months ago, I think, and it was very interesting insight for me personally, and maybe it can also mean something for you, right? So the thing that she kind of talked about was this matrix where you had four quadrants, right? You have upper, lower, left, right, four four quadrants, and basically you put the four basic emotions in each quadrant. So on the right you have fear and sadness, and then on the left you have anger and happiness or joy or elatedness. And those are kind of like the four most basic emotions. And she asked me to think of things or situations that caused these emotions for me. Um, so, in what situation do you feel sad? In what situation do you feel angry? In what situation do you feel happy and joyful? And in what situation do you feel anxious and fearful? And by really thinking about this, I realized I could come up with a lot of situations and um, yes, a lot of situations that caused me to feel either anxious or fearful or sad. So this side of the matrix are more the inwardly focused emotions, and then the left side, which is anger and happiness, are more outwardly focused. So sadness and fear, they tend to keep you more inside yourself. You're sad, you're protracted, you're not really expanding. And the anger and the joy, they usually cause you to expand. Anger can be a huge source of power and strength to extend yourself, right? It can also turn inwards, and then you can like inflict pain on yourself, but usually anger is more an outwardly focused, very charged emotion. And so it was interesting to realize that I am very familiar with the emotions sadness and fear, and less familiar, or let's say less familiar with anger and joy and happiness. And it was she drew it on a whiteboard, right? And so I could come up with so many things that caused me to feel sad or anxious or fearful, and only a few things that made me really angry or made me really happy. And it was interesting to really think about it and to realize that, oh, there's actually like a huge disbalance in the emotional spectrum that I'm experiencing. And so I highly recommend you give it a shot, try it out, draw like an axis, two axes on a paper, sheet of paper, label them sadness, fear, anger, and joy, and then try to think of situations where you feel these emotions. And it can be a little bit tricky to find out when you feel like that, because sometimes anger can also, the underlying emotion can be fear or even sadness, right? It's sometimes difficult to distinguish, but for instance, whenever I'm faced with injustice, I get super angry. And it's not because of sadness or not because of fear, but it's just because it's unjust, and I get so angry because of that. So there is a difference, because sometimes I can be angry because I'm scared, but usually it's not that. It's very, very rarely, because I'm very familiar with fear and sadness, right? So for me, it's not very difficult to distinguish all the emotions. And so, yes, try to take a moment and think about this for a second, and just realize that usually empaths and highly sensitive people, they tend to be more familiar with sadness and fear. I don't really know why exactly. Probably because we're more sensitive to all sorts of input and output, and these emotions tend to be more associated with the overwhelming feeling. I can only speak for myself, of course, because maybe some of you might find yourself more in the angry quadrant, um, more than me, for example. But it's interesting to look at your emotional spectrum like this, because then you can start to look for more ways to feel all the emotions more regularly, not necessarily more regularly, but more balance it out more, so you can not you don't necessarily have to go look for places that make you super angry or something, but it can be interesting to pay more attention to, okay, this is what makes me angry, and then I can use this energy to do something productive, or to do something that can drive me forward, that can push me forward. Maybe you can try to mold some of the sadness or some of the fear into frustration, into anger, right? At some point, you're maybe like so sick of yourself from being so sad or from being so fearful that you turn it into some kind of anger, and then it, it energizes you, and then you can use that energy to take action and to actually like do something about it. So it can be very valuable to take a moment to explore your own inner world and to have a look at how your day-to-day life is mostly maybe fear, or mostly maybe anger, or mostly maybe sadness, or if you're very lucky, I would say mostly joy, right? That's a beautiful thing. If you get to that point where you can mostly experience joy, that's fantastic. I think that is something that we all strive for. So if you're there, congratulations. And yeah, if you are there, I would absolutely love to learn from you. And I think it's can be very interesting to talk to people who find themselves more often in that quadrant, right? So yeah, I guess that for me personally, it's important to realize that the sadness and the fear, I feel very comfortable there in that place. Maybe sometimes a little bit too comfortable, which makes me go there whenever I'm on autopilot or something. And it can be interesting for you to figure out which emotions you resort to more easily because you're just more familiar with them. So by repeating something over and over and over, you condition yourself to choose that behavior, that thought pattern, whenever you're less aware, whenever you're less paying attention, when it's more on autopilot, you resort back to the things that have the least resistance, that cause the least resistance for your brain, for your system. And if it's something that you've done over and over and over again, it becomes more easy. It's like riding a bicycle. At first it's super difficult, and sorry, you fall down and you try again, but after a while you can do it on autopilot. It's the same thing with thought patterns and feelings and standard behaviors in certain situations. But you can also turn it around and condition yourself to do it differently. That's exactly what I'm doing right now, for instance, with the gratitude journaling, the daily gratitude journaling and affirmations. I wake up, I write them down, 5 of each, and before I go to sleep, I do the same thing. And if you do that over and over and over again, you condition your brain to take that as the path of least resistance, right? Whenever you're in a specific situation, because you condition your mind to think of things that you can be grateful for, to think of affirmations of your own personality, you will start to do it automatically. And that is a very powerful thing. But it takes time, it takes effort, and it takes dedication. And I think that you will only be able to do the effort when you are also convinced of the benefits, and those can also take some time to appear. In the beginning it's just like it feels weird, it's not really productive, whatever, and you feel a little bit uncomfortable, but when you keep doing it, you'll get better, and at some point you'll start to really see the benefits, and then you will feel a lot more motivated to continue doing it. So for me, that was a tremendous discovery, very, very helpful right now in this phase of my life, right? I don't know if it will continue to be helpful. Probably it will, actually, because I believe it's very, very powerful tool to just enhance your day-to-day experience in all situations. Like there's always something to be grateful for in every situation, even if it's super, super, super difficult, super hard. There's always something that you can feel grateful for if it's only simple things like your vision or your health or the person you just talked to, or I don't know, a piece of text you read somewhere, or the breeze, the wind in your face, the sun in your skin, stuff like that. Simple things. There's always something. So try it out. Try to make a try to draw a matrix on a sheet of paper and think of the things that make you sad, make you fearful, make you happy, make you angry, and see if there's any disbalances. And for me, it was very confronting also to do that, because I saw it like black on white, I saw it on paper that wow, these two quadrants, they're filled with situations that I feel these emotions. And then there was maybe one or two things that made me really angry, and then one or two things that made me very, very happy or elated. And so my homework or my task is to find more things that fit into these two quadrants. And so it's also more like an outwardly oriented state of mind. And for example, sharing these videos, recording these videos is more of a sharing state of mind. That's also why it's so helpful for me personally to do this, because I tend to keep a lot for myself and stay sad or stay fearful or stay anxious, and that is not very helpful for nobody. So by letting it out and expressing some of it, I try to turn it into a more outwardly focused state of mind, and it helps. It really does. And I can only recommend you to try and find something that does the same thing for you, albeit writing, making music, talking to people, cooking, whatever it is, whatever you feel like doing, whatever you feel like allows you to express yourself the best. And that will be the most effective thing for you to do. And it can be helpful to try out different things, to discover stuff that you maybe never thought of or were unaware of that you were actually good at or that you actually enjoy doing. So go take a cooking class, go take a dancing class, go call a friend that you usually don't call, go for a walk, try out different things. And you don't have to do them all at the same time, right? You can try one every week or every month even. It doesn't matter. You don't have to rush things necessarily. I like to try out new things on a very regular basis because I'm just naturally a very curious person. I believe that it spices up life a lot, and I like that. But that's a personal preference, right? Some people prefer to do it more at an easier pace and less busy, keep themselves a little bit less busy and try out different things at a slower pace, and that's totally okay. It's perfectly okay. Do things at your own pace. Discover what energizes you at your own pace, and you will find these things. I'm 100% sure if you go look for them and if you approach every situation with an open mind and open heart, you will find these things. I have no doubts about that. And when you do, you will feel it. You will really feel it. You will know that, oh, this is something that I really want to do. This is something that you look forward to. This is something that energizes you. You'll just feel it. And you gotta pay attention, right? You gotta pay attention. Like at the beginning, maybe because you're so numb and you spend so much time in this closed off state of mind, right? That you're actually like unable to feel this. You cannot feel it because everything is so desensitized, right? But you will feel it, like even if it's a little bit. That's why you have to pay attention to it, like very closely, and then make it stronger, go deeper into it, explore it more, explore it further, and you will see that it grows. You'll feel that it grows, and that's where you want to look at. That's where you want to put your attention, where you want to put your focus. And of course, you will still feel uncomfortable or sad or worried or anxious. That's perfectly normal. It's absolutely no problem that you still struggle, because it's part of who we are, you know. And it's important to allow that to happen, to allow that to be there, and to realize that, okay, every single day I'm gonna just look a little bit deeper, pay a little bit more attention, try to be just a little bit more kind or compassionate or curious. And then when you do that day after day after day after day, you'll find yourself in a completely different place in 3 months from now, 5 months from now, even 1 month from now. If you really want to pay attention to other things than what you're focusing on right now, if you're feeling stuck or sad or depressed, it takes a conscious effort. And usually you have to hit a certain level of sadness or depression or anxiety before you realize that, hey, I actually don't really want this. I want something else. I want it to be different. And when you reach that point, use it. Allow the energy to drive you to take action towards changing, towards putting in the time and the effort to consciously curate your own story, your own thoughts, your own movie. Create your own movie. It's a nice metaphor. Your life is your own movie. And you can decide where you want to steer the movie. Of course, there's a lot of things that you don't have control over, but if you look at your life as your own movie, you can then decide to, hey, I just want to go to that place, travel there, meet those people, do this, try out that, and you will not regret it. If you approach everything with an open mind and realize that every mistake you make is just a learning process and something that makes you more mature, more wise, more capable, then you will not regret the choices you made. And I think that's a very powerful framework to use for you to guide your life in a direction that is fulfilling and meaningful and exciting. So I think that was everything that I wanted to say about this. I've been talking for 20 minutes already, and I guess it's just nice to be able to think about these things out loud and record the thoughts that I'm having. It's my flow of consciousness. That's why I called the channel that way. And hopefully you can connect with it at some point somehow and find it inspiring or helpful. Even if it's just a tiny bit, I'm more than glad. That tiny bit is what I do it for. Also for myself, because it's a healing thing to be able to share these things. But I hope eventually it will also be helpful for others. And seeing a therapist, that's maybe another point that I could address in this video, because I started with the story that I went to see a therapist who taught me these things. Seeing a therapist can be very useful sometimes. When I was younger, I went to a few different therapists and I was very resistant to them. I was like, what are these guys gonna tell me? What are these people gonna tell me? Like, they read the books, yes, they did the studies, yes, but I can do the same if I really wanted to. I can just pick up the books and study everything that they studied. But when I got older, I realized that, okay, it's not gonna help if you resist what they say. You should go there with an open mind and open soul and receive what they talk about. And usually they just ask you a few questions and you talk, and it can be very helpful and lead to interesting insights when somebody holds up a mirror, but like a real mirror, you know. Your friends, they might be biased, or your family, they might be biased, or they might be too emotionally involved to be able to come up with things that make you realize certain behaviors or thought patterns or whatever, right? But a therapist, they have the necessary distance and background to ask the right questions, and also provide you with some helpful tools like the one that my therapist offered me, with the 4 quadrants of the basic emotions. And yeah, if you feel like you're really stuck and you don't know where to go, and you've been thinking of maybe contacting someone, do it. Just do it. You will not regret it. It has to be someone that you click with, though, which can be a challenge because not everyone works on the same level or something. You know what I mean? Like, 2 people should connect, the therapist and the patient. They should connect on a deeper level than just the therapy itself, and that's what makes it more difficult to find the right person. But if you look for it enough, you'll probably find that person. And channels like this, channels like Mouth of the Ape, Corey Wayne, Craig Kenneth, when you're dealing with a breakup, obviously there's other channels that talk about other things, but they can serve as a virtual therapist almost, and it's calming and soothing for me, at least, to hear them talk while I'm, I don't know, doing the dishes or going for a walk outside. I listen to them in my earpods. So maybe I can be that voice for you too when you're feeling lost and struggling with lots of things. So I hope to maybe be a little bit of a virtual therapist or virtual companion whenever you're going through a hard time. But a therapist can be helpful. So I highly recommend it if you think about it. It's definitely worth it. And you might get a lot of value out of it. You might not also, that's also possible. But then again, you learn something from it and it's invaluable. So yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about in this video. So thank you for being brave. Thank you for looking inward. Thank you for making yourself and the world a better place, one step at a time. And as always, thanks for watching. Bye guys, talk soon.